Creativity is what you use to solve problems.
Mm-hmm.
And I think every single human can solve problems.
Mm-hmm.
Some solve them way differently and way quicker than the others,
Yeah.
but then some they don't.
Mm.
Right. So I think that um we all have that ability to be creative because we all have the ability to solve problems.
We're back with another episode of FYM with Ty and Yoh. It's my dog Ty. I'm Yoh. We in Vegas, baby.
Yeah, we're in Vegas. We had to do a
Yeah.
little censorship so we can grow.
It's all about growth here, man.
We
And
gotta grow.
first, before you grow, you need to know where you're going, right?
Gotta know where you're going.
You gotta have a roadmap.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're wondering how do you figure out your roadmap and some strategies to build it out properly, this is the episode for you.
Yes, indeed.
Now, Ty, you have 3 tips, right?
Yeah, we got 3 best practices
Mm-hmm.
on building your roadmap. And we're gonna break them down one by one. You know what I'm saying? So if you leave, you're gonna get all 3.
Right.
So first one is to develop your goals. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to develop your goals when you're developing out your roadmap. So yo, how do you really go about when you got something you want to achieve? How you go about developing your goals?
The first thing I think about is actionable items.
Okay.
How can I start moving this thing forward
Okay.
before I get stuck in my mind about it?
Mhm.
Because I feel like you can start ruminating on it, you can strategize about it, but until you get action items, you're
Mhm.
not gonna move forward. So I start breaking down what can I do right now
Right.
with what I have. When it came to writing, what kind of writing should I be doing? Should I
Right.
be writing about essays? Should I be writing reviews? Should I be writing profiles?
Right.
When it came to doing documentary work, first thing that was actionable is let's start reaching out to artists.
Right.
Who can we shoot?
Mhm.
How can we shoot? Those are the things. The first things for me is action items.
Okay.
What about you?
For me, when I think about my goals, I think about things that I feel that I want to, where I want to settle, right?
Mm,
So I think about it from a standpoint of I'm never gonna feel like I'm moving forward in my career if I don't have like personal goals.
okay.
Right. So my goals before I think about business, I think about my personal goals. So my personal
Okay.
goals deal with like, okay, what am I doing, to like be healthy? Like, how can I be healthy both mentally and physically so that I can even be able to be happy if I am to achieve my career goals? Right.
Really?
So I think about my personal goals and how can I build them out first.
Hmm.
Then I start thinking about all the other shit.
But how do you know when to progress beyond your personal goals? Like, do you think you focus on your personal goals first, or you think about your career goals at the same time?
Well, I think about my personal goals as a foundation for my career goals,
Hmm.
right? Because it's like we are humans first,
Okay.
way before we are a business,
Hmm.
right? So I'm like, okay, as the human, I'm the foundation of like whatever it's gonna be.
Hmm.
So what goals I'm gonna set to make sure that I can actually sustain and maintain the
Hmm.
level of stress or the level of anxiety or the level of risk that careers can put on you, right?
Hmm.
So it's like that's kind of like where I start at when I'm thinking about my goals.
Have you always been like that?
Um, actually, no. When I was when I was growing up, I was like, man, I just want to get to the NFL and retire my mom.
Yeah.
Right? That
Yeah.
was it. It wasn't until I started understanding what is a goal,
What is
right?
a
Like, what
goal?
is a
Yeah.
goal? And it's like, okay, then like, okay, what do you want to achieve? Like, this goal is something that you want to achieve. It's a reward that has like a process.
Right.
I'm like, well, I started thinking more about myself. Like, you grow
Mm.
up around people that got, like with my family, you grow up around, and it's like black families or like black and brown people that have like diabetes or high blood pressure
Yeah.
or premature death, things of that nature. So
Absolutely.
I'm like, man, I just want to be able to be able to maintain whatever success that comes to me from my career investments.
I think that's really interesting.
Yeah.
I guess when I think about goals, I think about growth, right? Like, what's the best way for me to grow this idea? And
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's why I go action.
Right.
Like, it's not gonna grow. If you don't plant the seed, you're not gonna get a plant,
No, you got to work it out.
you know? But I do like the idea that you should conceptualize your personal growth, your personal goals before you overextend yourself for your business.
1,000%.
Because that's how you end up really running into a different kind of wall. Your
Yep.
business could be growing, but you could feel terrible. Yeah.
And I think that's when people feel like they're not worthy. They feel like I don't created all this success, but I'm still unhappy. Right. I think because they skip over
Yeah.
these actual personal goals. You know
Like
what I'm saying?
considering yourself first, who you are
1,000%.
before getting too invested in
1,000%.
building this business, this career.
So now we've like touched on both of our thought processes on our
Right.
actual goals, right?
Right.
So now the second thing, right, the second best practice is timeline. So
Yeah.
you're building out your roadmap, but
Mhm.
now you're like, okay, I got my goals,
Yep.
but now let me put together a timeline.
Yep.
So you got your actionable goals. What are you doing with your timeline? How are you looking at that?
Well, with Rad Portraits, what we would do is we'll say 6 months, right? We'll build our actionable goals, and then we'll give ourselves 6 months to understand how things are working out, how things are growing. We personally like the 6-month plan because it gives you enough time to get started, get moving, and not feel like you're under strain by the sense of like, oh man, if I don't do this tomorrow, if I don't do this in a week. But 2 or 3 months in, you're able to acknowledge what's going proper. You could also acknowledge what's not really moving that well.
Right.
It's all about giving yourself room to understand your growth. I think that's what I really think about when it comes to goals is growth. Timelines is about studying that growth. How's it growing? How's it not growing? So by the end of that 6 months, you've had enough time to understand what you're doing that's kind of properly working and what is kind of like holding you back. So that's been our for the last like 2 or 3 years. Usually we start in March.
Right.
We'd be like, March is the beginning of the 6 months. So by the end of that period, we'll have a very good idea by the time we get the next March.
Right.
By the time we hit that year point, you're like, all right, now we should understand where we're going.
Right.
Or if the roadmap is going anywhere. Because in the year, the roadmap ain't moving, you got another 6 months.
You gotta readjust.
Yes, sir.
Gotta readjust.
What about you?
Man, when I think about timeline, in terms of my roadmap strategy or my plan of roadmap, and I got my goals. So now my timeline, I automatically zero in what is the time frame that I can be able to measure? Is this sustainable?
Yeah.
Right. So like if I'm thinking about my personal goals, I'm like, okay, I want to be healthy. You know, there's different ways that you can be healthy.
Yeah.
Right. Some people might
Do you have
go
like a
straight.
specific, like what is healthy?
I think the biggest thing for me when I think about healthy is about educating yourself on what you're putting into your body. Right? What are you putting into your body? Not just from a physical perspective, but like a mental perspective. Right? So when I think about my timeline, I do check-ins. I'm like, okay, I want to build out a 24-month plan, right?
Okay.
And I'm gonna check in the first 2 to 3 months based on my personal goals to see if this is sustainable for 24 months. Meaning, if I say, okay, I want to find, I want to find a significant other. I'm opening myself up. I want to go find a significant other. What is going to be my timeline to try to find a significant other, right? I'm going to think about all of the different things, right? I'm going to be like, okay, well, because you don't know until you actually know, like, am I going out more?
Right.
Am I interacting with people more?
Got you.
Do I even know what my ideal significant other looks like? Right. So then when I come up with those different ideologies, and so now I put the timeline to my actionable items, right? That I got to go out. So okay, significant other, you can't find it in the house, right? So you want to still gonna right? Yeah, I mean, yeah. Now that's a different
Yeah, I'm messing with you.
No. That's a very important thing because dating apps is the future to finding significant others.
Yeah.
Because I look at Instagram as a dating app.
It is definitely
People be trying to act like they don't, but people be choosing in the DMs, right?
Yeah.
But then when I look at, let's say if I say, you know what, I don't want to leave the house, but I want to find a significant other.
Right.
And I spend a month digging in DMs and Instagram and I don't see no kind of results.
Yeah.
Then I ask myself, can I sustain this? Can I keep digging in DMs to try to find a significant other on Instagram?
Probably not sustainable.
Then that's going to give me a trigger to like, maybe I need to change my strategy on my timeline. So I might have a better time
Mhm.
going out to the park every Sunday, being open to like meeting and connecting with people,
Right.
right? I might can do that all year
Yeah.
versus like the DM search and Instagram, right? So once I started gauging my sustainability, like can I
Yeah.
sustain this,
Yeah.
then I feel a lot more comfortable with my timeline.
So you think 24 months is a proper, I guess, proper foundation for you, like
For me, yes.
lengthwise,
I
lengthwise.
feel like if I have the right strategy and I can sustain that pace,
Mhm.
I think 24 months you should see some type of result.
Okay. Okay. Do you always tend to go 24 months when it comes to goals or
Um,
when it comes to road mapping?
yeah, I kind of do 2 years.
2 years?
So I look at road mapping and timelines like in my mind, I'm thinking about 10 years, but I'm breaking them down in
Increments.
five halves. Like
Got you.
through so I'm
Got
like
you.
every 2 years it's a goal, these goals I'm trying to achieve.
Mhm.
Right. And I think once you get to your 10-year decade plan,
Yeah.
right,
Yes.
you've chopped it down.
You
And
broken
you
it
know,
out
like if I can do this consistently for 2 years, I know I can do it consistently for
for
10 years.
10 years. That's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Because I will say with 6 months, it gives you an idea what you could do for the next 6 months.
Right.
But beyond then, it gets a little trickier. And I do believe, I know you use relationships, but I feel like if you work in film or
Right.
music or
Right. Right.
TV,
Right.
the flux and changes in the industry
It's crazy.
could be every 24 months. You could be in a completely different industry, could feel
Mhm.
like. So I think that's why, based on where I kind of work in, 6 months makes sense because I see how much it
Yeah.
changes. But we're gonna come back to road mapping outside of careers, right? That's something we'll
1000%.
talk more about a little later.
So now, third best practice
Yep.
when you're developing your roadmap,
Yep.
and it is your tools.
Your tools. Ty,
What are your tools?
define what a tool is.
Your tool is a resource that you have or can acquire
Yep.
that can help you
Yep.
fix your roadmap.
Fix your roadmap.
You got to fix your roadmap up, man. You got to pimp your roadmap.
You gotta pimp your
You got to pimp
roadmap.
your roadmap, baby.
I do believe when it comes to tools, um, I think teams are
Yes,
tools,
1000%.
right? Your team members are your tools.
Mhm.
And understanding your personal strengths and the strengths of your team members will allow you to kind of fix, again, for 6 months. If the problem is like output,
Right,
like, okay, we need to put out more content, or
right,
we might need more arms,
right.
right? Then it's like, okay, well, how can we acquire more arms, or what kind of people should we be looking for? If the problem is outreach, we're not reaching out to the people, or man, currently, man, Ty, you know, the thing with me is patience because
Big
you know,
P.
once you start dealing with contracts and once
Yeah,
you start
man.
talking about, hey, you know, the Lord is doing this, the Lord is doing that. Uh, even believing that you're on the right path, like trusting your roadmap can kind of get complicated when you're in a position where you actually can't force it to move forward. And I think patience is a tool that I have had to develop.
Right,
It
right, right.
wasn't one that I feel like was in my shed.
Mm,
And to be forced to build that tool up, I don't even know if I liked it very much, to be
right,
honest.
right.
I don't think I enjoy having to acquire that tool. I
Mm.
wanted things. I wanted a Porsche. All right. I
Fast.
wanted a Ferrari.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted it,
Give
you
me
know
that
what I'm
fast,
saying?
baby.
0 to 70. No, I had a bus pass.
Yeah, that buzz pass of patience.
Yo, man, that's what it felt like. The stops, people getting on the bus. It smells. It's like it wasn't the most enjoyable tool to kind of grow. But I believe if you are working, again, film, TV, music, entrepreneurship, the patience that you'll need to build the proper team to actually get to where you're
Mhm.
going, uh, you can't skip having that tool.
So, tools, examples of tools
Yeah.
is that your team can be a tool,
Yep.
your
Perseverance and patience are
right,
tools.
patience.
Yeah.
Patience can be a tool. I think that's a really great one. I think
Yeah.
people should be patient and they don't understand how it can relate to and how they can develop them as humans. It can be very great for personal growth. It can be very good from like educating. Being education is a tool,
Yes.
right?
Ability to learn.
I think that when we're talking about roadmap and we say, what are your tools? I think it's so important so people can understand what a tool is. Your capital can be a tool,
Yeah.
right? Your relationship, your unique relationships can be tools, right?
Shoot, even the ununique ones, the ones that are kind of like up in the air, you just never know how knowing this person later.
Mhm.
You know, some people might, oh, I know this person, it's got to be right now. And
Right.
sometimes that's not the case. It's like, well, it could be 2 years later that relationship might come back around. You
Yeah.
just never know.
Your time can be a tool,
I think
right?
it should be a
And
tool.
what I mean by, let me give an example on how your time can be a tool based on how you can get your roadmap going,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Let's say that you have the time to sit at the most popular cafe in LA.
Mm,
Um, and this popular cafe always have writers,
yeah.
journalists,
Yeah.
filmmakers always come in.
Yeah.
And if you have the time every Saturday evening to just sit at that cafe,
Yeah.
write your ideas out,
Hmm.
pay attention to the room, try to meet people,
Hmm.
that alone can help expedite your timeline, right?
Yeah.
So that's an example of like being able to have a tool and utilizing time as a tool.
That's so many tools in that one example.
Yeah.
Because part of it also is like being patient enough to go into a place, scope it out long enough to be like, there's something here for me, or is there someone here that I should know? And I do believe sometimes you get so your expectations of a place will have you go and get in there trying to move so fast, where it might take you 3 or 4 weeks. But again, if you got a 24-month window, then it won't feel that long.
Right.
But if you feel like, oh, I got to do this in 6 weeks,
Right.
probably that second week, by third week three, you ain't going back
Right.
because you feel like, well, my timeline is so
Mm,
short.
right. So it's funny because I was doing my media training earlier today,
You got
right?
media training
I got media training, but I got all the trainings, tools, right?
tools.
Trying
Okay.
to get my toolbox right. And so she asked me, she said, "What's your relationship with risk?" And I told her I said, "I'm married to risk. We have a healthy marriage." And she just was cracking up at me. And she was just like, "You need to write that down.
Yeah.
Like that is something, that is a gem that people need to hear about." I was like, "Yeah, I'm actually married to risk.
Hmm.
We got a very healthy marriage
Yeah.
and we go about these different things. And it has been one of my most valuable tools is the concept of taking risk.
How long y'all been together?
Man, huh, at least since 2005.
No. Oh, y'all is deep.
Yeah, buddy, we
Okay.
deep, boy.
Yeah, almost 20 years.
Yes, indeed.
Next
And
year.
so, those are things that we don't always hear about from those perspectives,
Yeah.
right? It's like those different timelines when it deals down with like your actual tools, right?
Mhm.
So now we got we got the best practices.
You got the
We got
best
the
practices.
3 best practices when it comes to developing your roadmap.
Run one more time. Run them through so they
So
remember.
boom, develop out your goals.
Yep.
Then we're gonna talk about your timeline,
Yep.
but then we're gonna figure out what our tools are,
Yep.
right? And then we're gonna put them together. And now you got at least your foundation
Yep.
of developing your roadmap.
Yep.
Now you still gotta go do the work.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? We didn't
Yeah.
talk about nothing about doing the work because that is a whole nother different part.
But you got to have a roadmap before you get into the
You
work.
gotta have a roadmap so you know exactly what you're working towards.
Now, why did road mapping come to mind for you today when you decided this subject for this episode?
So I've been in Vegas all week and I've been doing the business talk with Ty, and one of the guys that I was talking to on some completely different thing, younger guy, he hit me and he was like, man, you should talk about being in your 20s and like, you know, what are some of the things that you would do differently if you was to do it all over again? And I was like, man, I wouldn't do nothing differently, right? Because it would literally take my I'm so happy where I'm at today
Yeah.
that if I would change anything, I wouldn't probably be at this particular point with this level of happiness. So it started having me thinking about, I think people need to understand what road mapping really means. Because
Mhm.
it's like it's the infrastructure for your success,
Mhm.
right? And so thinking about that, thinking about a lot of the answers and questions that I have for myself that I get that people ask me,
Mhm.
I'm like, me, I'm about structure.
Yeah.
So road mapping is literally a brainstorming exercise, right?
Mhm.
Before you lay down, like, all right, this is how I'm gonna go about doing it.
Yeah.
You're basically like writing out the skeletons. Like, okay,
Absolutely.
cool.
Yeah,
I want to
outline.
get here. I'm 25 years old today. By the time I'm 30, I
Yeah.
want to have made X amount of dollars, right?
Right.
So now you started putting together, okay, what is X amount of dollars? Oh, I want to be made $500,000 by the time I'm 30. And I got 5 years to do it. Okay, cool. What are the different vehicles that you're gonna develop or you're gonna use
Right.
to make that money? Or are you gonna put all your eggs in one money bucket and hope that that is the bucket that's gonna build it out, right?
Yes.
Or are you gonna diversify over time? Like what is
Yeah.
gonna be your actual roadmap to this 500,000? What is gonna be the goals
Yeah. What are your
that's gonna
tools?
get you there? And what are the tools, right? So you might say, I'm trying to build out a roadmap to 500,000.
Yeah.
My goals are it's 5 years, so I want to be earning $100,000 a year
Yep.
on average,
Yep.
right? That's going to be my goals to get to my roadmap.
Yep.
And now I'm going to get into my timeline, which is 5 years.
Yep.
Right now, my tools is going to be, all right. So I got these ideas. I got
Yeah.
I got these different businesses that I got introduced. I got my
Yeah.
team that brought me into this exercise. I got my investment manager
Right.
that got me in this savings account that's gonna, like, all of these different aspects of things. But
It
now,
starts from that goal.
then you gotta goddamn do the work.
Then yeah.
You gotta do the work. You gotta be disciplined in the work
Yeah.
because you gotta be disciplined. That roadmap is attached to some level of discipline.
Mhm.
That timeline is attached to some level of discipline.
Yeah.
And I don't think that people kind of gauge how much the discipline part plays a
Plays
part.
into the well, I would say because you build out the roadmap, that feels good to know what you're supposed to do,
Hmm.
but then doing it and doing it consistently and doing it properly and not mistaking doing it from like, I'll get to it.
Right.
Like that's not the same.
No, no, no.
That's not the discipline. And then that's how you end up like
Yeah.
taking a longer
Right,
route
right, 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 right,
to your destination.
right. I mean, to be honest with you, man, I want to get me like an 8 pack, man. But I be thinking about it. I got some roadmaps on it, and I got a plan.
Yeah.
But I ain't had the discipline to
To,
just
to
to
get to
just keep diving in on it. You
you
know what I'm
serious
saying?
about an 8 pack?
Yeah, man, I want
Yeah.
that 8 pack, man. I'm trying to have one of them, what they call it, trying to steal your girl body.
Yeah.
I can't get this summer because I missed this summer.
You
So
missed
I'm
the
working
summer.
on next summer. I missed the summertime fine 2024. I gotta get summertime fine 2025.
But it's cool that you like, well, all right, I can still get there. You're not gonna be like, well, I'm gonna get this belly now because I
No, no,
missed
no, no,
it.
no, no,
I
no.
missed it in 2024. I
Right,
know
right, right.
I might never get it.
Yeah.
You know.
See, I've been trying to get the 8 pack through the kitchen, but it don't work that way. It don't work that way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You can lose weight and stay in shape inside through the kitchen, but yeah, you're not gonna get the 6 pack through the
Well,
kitchen.
let's talk about road mapping outside of career stuff, right? I think
Okay.
the 8 pack is an amazing
Right, right.
goal. Do you feel like when you conceptualize the want to be like, man, I want an 8 pack, did you start road mapping or were you just kind of like, I'm on
So
just
this is what happened, right? I was like, man, I'm trying to get this 8 pack, man.
yeah.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do 100 sit-ups a night.
Okay.
Start. That's how I'm gonna start. That's gonna be
Yeah.
my first goal. Roadmap it to the 8 pack, right? So
Yes.
boom, the roadmap to the 8 pack is like, I'm gonna start. My goal is gonna be to get to my 8 pack.
Yeah.
I'm going to spend the next 6 months doing 100 sit-ups a night.
100 sit-ups a night.
100 sit-ups a night,
Okay.
right? Then once I get to that 6, if I've successfully done it, then I'm gonna do, I'm gonna do a progress report, right? I'm
Right.
gonna say, okay, do I look like I got an 8-pack? You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Then I've built up the actual work ethic for those 6 months. Now I'm gonna transition and I'm gonna start going into the gym.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go to the gym, but then I'm still do my 100
Sit-ups,
sit-ups a
but
night.
now you're moving
I'm
into
1000%. Now I'm in my second phase of my timeline for
okay.
my 24 months. So the
Right.
first 6 months was at the house,
Yep.
100 a night.
Yeah.
Get to the point where it becomes easy,
Yep.
where you're, all right, boom,
You're
I can do
doing
this.
it
It's automatic.
in your sleep.
Then the second 6 months, now I'm gonna add some gym to it. Light gym, nothing super crazy, right? Then by the time I get to that third 6 months, right, out of my 24 months,
Right.
so now I'm in my third 6 months. Now I done increased the days at the gym, probably doing different things, right? Still doing my 100 sit-ups a night.
Yeah.
Then when I get to my final 6-month stretch, then I'm gonna enlist a personal trainer. Cause by that time I done had about 18 months of like getting myself together.
Yep.
Man, I ain't make it to the 100. I think I did 100 sit-ups probably like 2.5 weeks in a row, 2.5
2.5
weeks.
weeks, about 14 days.
And I started seeing results too, man.
Yeah.
I did. And then
Yeah.
it's just like, man, you just be getting sleepy, man. I like sleep. I love sleep, man. I was like, man, I just
Now
fell off the wagon.
what was the thing where you kind of missed a night or two and then you just couldn't get back
Because I can't
into
make
the
no
rhythm?
excuse. You can make an excuse like, oh, I'll be traveling, man, so it'll be hard to get to the gym. But you at home. You
Yeah.
always can make time for them 100 sit-ups.
Yeah. Especially, you just doing it in your room.
Kind of feel bad right now. I think I'm gonna start back up, man. I'm gonna start back up probably tomorrow.
Have you heard of 75 Hard?
75 hot.
It's like a workout regimen where you do like you're supposed to do 75 days straight of working out twice outside, once inside, read 10 pages of book, like 10 pages of a nonfiction book, and I think it's like one or two other small criterias. But you're supposed to do it 75 days hard. Like you can't miss a day. If you miss a day, you got to start all the way over from one. So if you make it 21 days, but then you miss a day,
You gotta start back
or
up.
you skip any of the steps, you have to start back over at 1.
Right, wow.
And I feel like what you're saying kind of like gets into what 75 hard kind of is supposed to build a discipline, but it doesn't allow you an out, because I do believe
Ain't no outs.
if you do, like that's the thing, even with your 8-pack,
I get an 8-pack, man.
you miss a day or two, it starts to get hard, although you just did like 14 in a row. But I do like your roadmap. You have it figured out.
I always figured out mentally, baby.
You got
I'm
it.
just giving you an example on how you can have the perfect roadmap and terrible execution without that discipline, man.
Do you feel like you're good at making roadmaps?
1000%.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I was gonna say you built that out pretty strong.
I'll roadmap anybody's life if I sit with them long enough. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Now,
Are you gonna do the work?
you gotta do that work, man. That'd be the difference between your roadmap being successful, obviously. You can't just fairy tale a roadmap and Peter Pan it. You gotta actually go at it. You gotta go actually. And you can't imagine it, Peter. You gotta use your imagination. No, it don't work like that when you want to get the real results. You gotta do that real work.
Do you feel like because what I like about this a lot is some people, I was just talking to a man who he wants to work as a manager, wants to work in the business side of music, and he's coming out of like the Marine background, military background. So the discipline.
You want to manage artists?
Yeah. But he's like focused. Like his mind goes like, he's like, I'm straight. Like once I figure it out, I'm running through all the walls to get there. And he looked like somebody. I was like, okay, you sound like you know what you want. But when it came to explaining it in like a roadmap fashion, I wasn't sure if he knew exactly how he was going to get there.
Right.
But he knew he had already built up the work ethic from his prior relationship with the military that he can like, oh, I can do anything I want to do.
You can do anything.
But it's like, well, yeah, you can have like the work ethic for something, but if you don't really have a roadmap, I do believe you will run into a wall.
Man, listen, let me tell you something about roadmap when you talk about work ethic.
Mhm.
In your roadmap, when you talk about a partial work ethic,
Partial
right?
work ethic. Okay.
So you can have two people.
Mhm.
Let's say Mr. Military came from the
Yep.
Marines. We know they disciplined,
Yeah.
right? They
You
got
get
they
it's a
break bed up every
requirement.
day. It's a requirement,
Yeah.
right? Then let's say somebody that is more of a artsy creative manager,
Mhm.
right? They're a manager, but they're more on the creative side. They don't really
Yeah.
handle the business. You know,
Mhm.
they work ethic is a little
Yeah.
that, right? So what's going to end up happening is that military minded person is going to work so hard that they're going to drill down on all of the different things, right?
Mhm.
And then you're going to have this creative person that's going to selectively work hard, right?
Mhm.
Now, I have seen this happen so much that the hard workers without a roadmap would just be hard workers.
Mhm.
But then you got the person that is a selective hard worker
Mhm.
because they have identified that they can work hard based on what they like and what they feel like is creatively appealing,
Right.
right?
What's attractive?
Or attractive, right?
Mhm.
And now they're able to progress a lot more faster in the lane that they want to be in
Yeah.
than the person that has the ridiculously crazy work ethic, but they don't really know
Yeah.
how they're gonna actually go to get that. So they can be standing in the corner marching for 24 days,
Yeah.
when in actuality, if they would have just pivot a little bit, they would have been marching the same distance, but it would
Yeah.
have happened in 10 days.
Mm.
Right? But they're so focused on doing the work
Yeah.
that they're not even really identifying the time that you might need to take off
Yeah.
to recalibrate.
Yeah. To recognize your path.
Gotta recognize your
Because
path.
like you
That's
said,
really
like the
good.
partial worker, he identified what he likes, right? So he knows exactly the path to what I like. Versus if you're all encompassing and you're just thinking, I just got to do all these things to get somewhere.
Fast.
You probably you're gonna just be walking into a wall and not even realize there's a wall.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's true. That's interesting.
So I'm always gonna say, hey man, that work ethic is important, but where are you applying it to?
Hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, are you applying it to sleep?
Yeah.
You working so hard, you sleeping, you getting all to sleep, but you're oversleeping,
Yeah.
you're missing meetings,
Yeah.
you're not doing it, or you're applying all that work ethic to your job.
Yeah.
So now you like boom, boom, you put all that work ethic to your job, but now you don't have no time or energy
Yeah.
for your passion project
100%.
on the side.
And that thing just kind of gets pushed to the wayside. Do you feel like, and I say this as like an entrepreneur, you need a combination of like creative aspirations too? Like should you want to have like a foot in creativity as well?
So I have this thought process that every single person is creative.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that certain people tap in on creativity from a different way,
Mm-hmm.
right? So even your day-to-day Excel assistant, accountant has some creativity
Right.
within their work stream, right?
100%.
And I think that although they're not like Kanye West of creativity, right?
Right.
But I think that the reason why I believe everybody have creativity in them is because creativity is what you use to solve problems.
Mm-hmm.
And I think every single human can solve problems.
Mm-hmm.
Some solve them way differently and way quicker than the others,
Yeah.
but then some they don't,
Mm.
right? So I think that um we all have that ability to be creative because we all have the ability to solve problems.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of like how I see that world.
All right. My last question is, of all the tools you have, what do you believe has gotten sharper over the years of accomplishing your roadmaps?
My tool of communication.
Hmm.
You ask me, you like, you got a media coach? I'm like, yeah, I got a media coach because the whole time I thought media coaching was telling you how to speak so
Mm-hmm.
that you don't like say the wrong thing.
Right.
And that might be the case for some media training
Yeah.
coaches. But the media training coach that I've started working with, she's talking to me about how do you get out the things that you want to say, right? How do you position yourself to get the things out that you want to actually, uh, uh, you know, elaborate on the things that you want people to be everlasting, that like, ooh,
Yeah.
that's what you need to lead with. That is how you describe yourself as you're having these dialogues, as I'm having these dialogues with her. So for me, I'm thinking about like, man, the communication that I've developed over the years on how I can more sharply communicate things in a very quick, concise way, but then also being able to like look at public speaking, because a lot of people get paralyzed when they got to speak about anything. We do Fuck You Money. We've done it live. We've
Yeah.
done it, in front of, just like a audience. We've done it on video. We've done it and we've done it in so many different formats.
Yeah.
That, now it's just about how do I keep sharpening this skill set of talking in front of camera,
Yeah.
being able to like think on the fly
Yeah.
in the improv, all of these different thought processes of it. And so for me, I would say my communication.
That's so interesting because I always thought you were good at those things.
Right.
Yeah. Like improv stuff, I feel like Todd easy. Because I mean, guys, doing Fuck You Money is so interesting because I felt like in my background, uh, you would have to like prepare to talk to guests and
Right.
prepare like interview questions and check out their catalog. I remember I'm not gonna say who it was. I remember my first time talking to a guest, and I was like, "Ty, what did you prepare?" He was like, "Nothing." He said, "I'm about to just talk." I'm like, "Yo, what? What? Like, how does he get up in the morning and be like, "Dad, I gotta talk to this artist at 12. Ain't heard no music, ain't read no interview. I'm over here. I've got 3 notebooks full of information."
Yeah.
And then I remember in the midst of the interview, he said something. They said that was a good question. I was so mad. I was like, he did no prep. He just woke up today and just pulled out his head. Like, how how is it even possible? And it was one of those things where I was like, well, some people are just gifted with like freestyling.
Right.
I was just like, that's why some people like Jay-Z can go into the studio
Right.
and not have to use a pen and a pad. Now
Right.
that has become a thing all artists believe they can do. And I would say a good 85% that's not a tool
Not too for 'em.
that's like a natural tool. It's not
Not that.
natural.
That's true.
So I do think it's cool to hear that you have found a way to sharpen a tool that I just felt like was extremely
So it's funny because when I was in the media training stuff today, it was like I said something. I think it was when I was like I'm married to risk
mm,
or whatever, and she was like, I was like, I really be thinking I'm a rapper. I was like, me and Yo, we got a rap group. That's how I said, the way we approach, the Culture Playbook and Fuck You Money, it's almost like we're a rap group. We're like the journalism outcast. We recorded an album. We
yeah,
had people in the studio.
literally.
There's a whole like this aspect of things, a videographer. I said, then I'm writing my rhymes in my head. You know what I'm saying? And
Literally.
she's just laughing because I'm like, yeah, that's how I see it. That's why it's so easy to do this show. That's why it's so easy to work on like Culture Playbook Volume 1 and Culture Playbook Volume 2,
Yeah.
because I'm specifically speaking from life experience.
Yeah.
So like when we're interviewing a guest, I'm like, all creators, they're pretty much the same,
Yeah.
right? And so I can ask a question that's gonna have them being like, oh wow, okay, that's a great question. Because they're chasing this bliss,
Yep.
right? It's like they hit that crack, which is art,
Yep.
and now they're forever chasing it,
Yep.
right? It's they're always trying to get it on the tip of their tongue, the best idea.
Yeah.
So you're like, so what if I know y'all chasing the same crack,
Yeah.
right? The same bliss, the
Yeah.
same thing. So I'm like, what was that first